My name is Charles Monroe. I own a wellness center in Bel Air, Maryland. I've always been a sound file or audio file, if you will, even as a kid. So I eventually went to school for it at American University as an audio engineering major, which led me to quite a few different things, starting on my radio station, diving more into sound, and finding the harmonic egg and opening up a center. Well, each chakra corresponds to a different note. So you can actually heal the chakra by actually playing a note or even playing a song that's in the key of that note. Well, I think all healing in terms of sound and light is energy healing. So it's a form of entrainment. You know, the way they teach that in physics is that you have a room full of grandfather clocks. And all the small clocks are doing one thing. The pendulums are all moving, doing their own thing. You put a big grandfather clock in there, and you come back in a couple of days, all the small ones have synced with the big one. And that's called rhythmic entrainment. So it's similar to any other kind of energy. The reason it happens is nature wants to reach a homeostasis. Right? So if I want to work on the root chakra, I would get a singing bowl or a tuning fork that's tuned to the note C. And in that system, that tuning fork or that singing bowl is the big grandfather clock. It's the dominant frequency. And you may have anomalies in your root chakra. So it entrains the root chakra. It gives it a model to go by. Same thing with light. Colors come into the mix in a similar way. It's still a form of rhythmic entrainment. The only difference is with sound, you have air molecules that are moving at a certain frequency that are influencing the chakra. With light, it's photons moving at a certain frequency that is influencing the chakra. This can affect emotions because your emotions are part of your electromagnetic field, and so are your chakras. So if you influence in the field, which is influencing the chakras, you can actually influence the emotions, even psychological things, even physical things. A lot of physical things show up in the field before they actually show up physically in the body. Sound affects water in the body because water responds to intention. And intention can actually travel through sound. Dr. Moto experimented on how the water is affected by intention. So he would have two plants, and he would write, "I love you" on one, and "I hate you, I want you to die" on the other one. And he would get up and say, "I love you" to one plant, "I hate you, I want you to die" to the other plant. They would get the same amount of food, same amount of sunlight. Well, the plants don't have ears, so they're not hearing you. It's the water in the plant that's responding to the intention. And that is why one plant that he says, "I love you" to will thrive, the other one will actually die. And that's what he experienced in his experiments. And since the plant is mostly water, we're mostly water, especially the brain. In fact, we have a tradition of blessing our food. There's a science behind that. You're actually reconfiguring the water in the food. The food's still mostly water. So when it's in a restaurant and it's in the kitchen, all kinds of mayhem is happening in the kitchen. The water in the food is picking up that energy. So when you get it to your table, you change the intention, which affects the water. Then you change it with love, grace, however you say your grace or however you bless your food. And we do that as a custom, but there's actually science behind that. It's not necessarily that the intention is affecting the sound. The sound is a carrier. It's a carrier for the intention. So I don't really think the sound cares about what the intention is. It's a delivery mechanism for the intention. Certain organs correlate to the waveform characteristics of certain instruments. For instance, the liver correlates with the sound of the flute and the waveform characteristics of the flute. The nervous system actually correlates with the grand piano, particularly the actual shape of the grand piano and the waveform characteristics of it. It also influences bone structure. There's also the didgeridoo. The didgeridoo actually induces kinetic energy into the body. A lot of inflammation is energy that's not moving, it's stuck energy. A didgeridoo can induce kinetic energy. The bassoon can do the same thing. And then there's drums. Drums work well on your lower chakras, things that are governed by your root chakra. Drums, rattles. Yes, instruments have been used for health devices for centuries. The didgeridoo was used as a medicinal thing from the Aborigines in Australia. Yeah, drums have been used for centuries for healing. It's also a carrier of intention. Drums are used for communication and healing. Intention plays a very important part of the healing. We're electromagnetic beings. Intention is electric. Your emotion is magnetic. So I always tell my clients, you set an intention. You're literally creating a timeline. In order to make yourself a vibrational match for that timeline, I ask them, have an intention, and what does it feel like? Because that feeling is the feminine aspect of it that will actually draw that timeline to you. Certain scriptures in the Bible speak about this. They'll tell you, pray as if you already have it, which means you're asking for it, but you have to feel like you have it. And they're essentially telling you, create the timeline, but you need to feel it. That's what makes you a vibrational match for it. The word cymatics stems from the Greek word cyma, which means wave. So cymatics means the study of waves on objects. In the particular case that we're talking about right now, it's the object, it's water, and our intention affects water. It's similar to the way that mantras affect the water in the body and actually create certain mandalas in the water in the body. So they've actually done studies on this. They'll just say the word Om, and they'll actually see the mandala that creates in water. And again, we have to remember we're mostly water. So sound can be used to actually shape forms of plasma. So some people believe that when we hear the universe was started with the word, or there was the word first, that was the sound that actually started to shape the matter in the universe. Long before we had traditional medicine, we had the drum. Not anyone could drum. Shamans would pick the drummers, and they would live a totally different life. They would eat differently from everyone else. They would sleep differently, sometimes away from the tribe or the group at large, because their energy had to be a certain way, because their intention would be induced into the drum and then transmitted into the rest of the community at large. Again, because of intention. The intention of the drummer was critical to the intention that ultimately landed on the community. What got me started initially in energy medicine is actually Reiki. I have a Reiki master that I had, and she would work on me, and she would always tell me, you can do this. And she offered Reiki master classes, and I thought she just wanted me to take her class. And she kept telling me, no, you don't have to take my class. You can do this. And I didn't believe her. And then I started practicing on my kids, and I started to build my confidence, and I started to feel things, and I could almost diagnose things. And that helped me realize that this is real. This energy is real. I'm connecting to them. We're all one. So I'm just asking permission to tap into their higher self, and my higher self talk to their higher self. That was really the beginning of understanding how energy worked. Then I found out about the harmonic egg and Gail. And that was just a whole extension of that. How the body can actually heal itself. It just needs a little nudge. So even when you're doing Reiki, you're just giving the person's body nudges here and there so the body can take that information and run with it. Same thing is happening in the egg. Your body's doing the healing. The egg is a nudge in the right direction. Some examples of energy healing come from my own clients. And ultimately, it's a testament of how they can actually heal themselves if we get to the root cause. And that is really critical. With today's medicine, everything is about symptoms. When they come to me, I hear the symptoms, but I'm looking for the root cause. So I had a client come to me one time. She was going to have her gallbladder removed. They did a sonogram, found a mass in her gallbladder. Well, the gallbladder is related to the liver. So I scanned her with a device I have called the BioWell. It actually shows me how body is sending energy to different places. I saw a lot of energy going to her liver. In Chinese medicine, your liver is where you store anger and resentment. So I asked her, who are you angry at? This was June. She was just divorced the previous November. She was angry at her husband for years, anger and resentment, which actually compromised the bile in the liver, which allowed cholesterol to build up in the bile in the liver. That's sitting in the reservoir of the gallbladder, and it turned into gallstones. So she had to understand the connection between her disposition and her physical liver. And that is sometimes the hardest connection to make. But once we made that connection, I told her we tried 6 sessions. First 4 sessions, I'll get you out of the pain. And what I did is I used drums and rattles for the first 4 sessions. And she went from having a huge mass to one little 5 millimeter gallstone. She was getting CT scans in between the sessions. And I told her after the 4, we'll work on your liver. So we worked on her liver. I had her on a celery juice regimen the whole time. So this whole thing is to actually get rid of the pain, fortify the bile in the liver, and then lastly, work on the root cause. Because I told her, if we don't work on the root cause, you'll end up back in my office again. The root cause was the anger, so she had to work on forgiveness. And it was interesting, the track we used was the Ho'oponopono. And her father's half Hawaiian. And that track is done in Native Hawaiian. She's my only client who understands that track. And she went to her doctor. Her doctor wanted to meet me, actually, because he found out he didn't have to do any surgery at all. And that's just a combination of using the drums to actually break up the gallstones and then work on the root cause, which was anger and resentment. And what we do is we match that emotion with the opposite emotion, which is forgiveness. Remember, emotions are magnetic. So we cancel it with another emotion that's 180 degrees out of phase of the original emotion. Ho'oponopono is an Hawaiian tradition where you say, I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, I'm grateful. And you repeat that over and over again like a mantra. And like any mantra, it's eventually going to have an effect on the water in your body, and that's affecting your energies. Modern medicine has a lot to rediscover from ancient medicine. Modern medicine is mostly symptom-based. So they treat symptoms. They don't treat the root cause. And older ancient medicine was all about the root cause of the problem. I really believe that modern medicine has the potential to change, and mainly because I think inherently every doctor is a healer. I think that's what took them down that path. But in a sense, they're handcuffs in the way that they have to treat people. Number one, they don't have enough time to actually investigate enough to find the root cause of anything. And then when they do, they're actually treating it with a pill. So I would really love to see them be able to get to the root cause, and then instead of a drug, we actually treat it with light and sound. The role I think food plays in medicine, I think, is very heavily tied to intention as well. Because food is mostly water. So I don't think it's just the food you eat. I think it's the energy and intention that you put on that food when you eat it as well. I think that plays a big role in what you eat, because people can tell you to eat this and eat that all day long. But I think honestly, at the end of the day, it's energy. It's all energy. And I think your intention plays the biggest part in how what you eat works in the body once it gets in there. Your own voice can be used to heal as well. So there are a lot of modalities where they tell you to talk to your body, talk to your organs, talk to your cells. I even heard that to your cells, your voice is the voice of God. And I truly believe that. I believe they're listening to you. Consciousness also plays an important part in your well-being. What you think, they say what you think you are, right? I look at it a bit differently in terms of thought forms. So you create a thought form called I'm clumsy. That thought form wants to survive. And the way it survives is it keeps showing you clumsy. If you think I'm cute and I get all the girls, you create a thought form called I'm cute and I get all the girls, and you will get all the girls no matter how you look because that thought form wants to survive. So with a lot of my clients, I deal with thought forms. What are you telling yourself? And they'll say, well, I have this thought all the time, but I try to ignore it. And I'll say, don't try to ignore the thought. Create another thought that's 180 degrees out of phase from that one and put your energy there. If you keep saying, I try to ignore this thought, you're giving it energy. You're giving it what it wants. It wants to survive. Create another thought form and give your energy to that one, which should be the opposite of the other one. So when I talk about 180 degrees out of phase and actually canceling out thoughts, it's similar to the way noise cancellation headphones work. So there's a little microphone in that headphone that's sampling the environment around you. And then it creates another sound that's 180 degrees out of phase with that sound. So it's like wave addition. You have a wave going this way, you have a wave going that way, you add them together, zero. If we wanted to create a more nurturing society as a whole, I think one of the main things we need to actually increase in all of us is compassion. We need to be more compassionate and understand that we are all one. Our energies are intertwined all the time. They measure our energy at 8 feet? And that's because of the sensitivity of the equipment that they have. It could be miles for all we know. So our energies are always intertwined all the time. So how can we be individuals? That's an illusion. We're under the illusion that we're individuals just so we can have an individual experience here. But in truth, even energetically, we're all interrelated. We're all connected. Even the rocks, everything has an energy signature. And we don't even know how far out it extends. Love is a collective, in my opinion. I think we're all connected anyway, even energetically. So how can love be anything else than us together collectively? Even inanimate objects, they have energy too. So all our energies are intertwined anyway. Cymatics is the study of how sound affects matter. In this little experiment, we're going to see how sound affects the matter of table salt. And under this diaphragm, there is a speaker, and we're playing a 417 hertz tone. And you'll see how it creates a Mandela effect as we increase the amplitude. So this has the same effect in the body, except for instead of sand, it's water. And your body is made of mostly water. And this is how sound can affect the water in your body.